Very good afternoon, all. Welcome to the webinar series conducted by iNature Education Solutions. And today I will be speaking on the smartphone filmmaking and giving you a very brief overview of what the process of smartphone filmmaking is exactly like. And initially, when iNature has contacted me on conducting a webinar series, a workshop series on smartphone filmmaking, I was like, first, let me take this at a introductory phase, and only when the participants or the students have the introductory idea on how exactly smartphone filmmaking happens or what exactly is the process of smartphone filmmaking, only then we can go ahead to an advanced level course like working with the smartphone to make films. Let me just make it the full screen. And just in case anyone has any questions to ask, you can interrupt me right at that moment. Questions are encouraged, even if it's at the cost of interrupting me. So let's go ahead. So I have divided the session into 5 key pointers. And first, the key pointer is Reel to Smartphone, a revolution in filmmaking. Okay, so we all know that we have evolved over a period of time. We have evolved as human in a certain way, and so does our technology in a very different way, like how the humans want them to uh, take shape, because humans are the one who basically develop the technology from one form to another form so that they can basically exploit the purpose of it. Going back to the earlier days in filmmaking process, uh, it all has its roots in photography. Then after photography, then people started printing film reels, and then you had the film reels which you need to be exposed so that you capture a series of images. And if you can see the left side of the screen which I'm sharing right now, this is the old Arri camera, which is basically having a stock reel in it, and the recording happens in the stock reel. And if you look at the right side, it is the Xperia 1, uh, which is again a flagship level smartphone, which is exclusively uh, designed to per se shoot films or do professional grade videography with your smartphone. We have reached a long way if you look at the left side image with the right side image. The left side have a live viewfinder in which you have to put your eyes close to the eyepiece and then basically predict how the screen or how the film is going to be recorded. But whereas on the right side, we see we are pretty much in a very interactive world. We can do a lot of settings on just a touch. You can in fact select the kind of lenses. In fact, today's smartphones comes with multiple cameras. Mm, the multiple cameras, some cameras have 3, some cameras have 5, and the beauty of this multiple cameras is every camera has a different lens attached to it. The one comes with a extreme wide angle lens, the one comes with a telephoto lens, the one comes with a standard lens, and so on. If you can clearly see, the size of the particular technology has also changed over a period of time. Um, it was very bulky in the initial days. Initial days, if you had to move a camera, you basically need a trolley without which you cannot move it, or you at least need to have 5 or 6 people holding the camera and performing different duties, like one with the focus pulling, one with the just turning the reel at the right speed, and one who is constantly framing the scene. It was a lot of a labor process, whereas in today's generation you can pretty much handle 4 or 5 cameras at the same time using a mixer. So that kind of a technological advancement we have moved over a period of time. So I would definitely call it as a revolution. I would definitely call it as a revolution because it has lived through ages, and it has pleased a different section of audience towards a single goal. And smartphone, which was not initially looked upon as a cinema camera, but slowly replaced a lot of big digital cameras, even in today's context. A lot of films have been shot on smartphones. Specifically, to say, a lot of films have been shot on iPhones because the kind of quality Apple gives the filmmakers, or the kind of perspective it gives. So, right from iPhone 6, which I have in my hand, filmmakers were very much inclined towards shooting on iPhones when compared to Android or any other smartphone when it existed. A lot of attempts were done in the journalistic side of smartphones usage. A lot of news reports and the live interviews were recorded in the 2000s, initially by the BBC and some of the international news agencies, to record interviews, record bytes, so that it could be used to telecast footage, so that a reporter can just himself go record the interview without any help of cameraman or a camera person, and things like that. And there are a lot of purposes of smartphones apart from just shooting videos. The whole machine, the whole machine of the cinematography, we call it today, is again moving in the same direction, is what we can say. Because initially the cameras did not have the audio recording capacities. The film reel camera did not have the audio recording capacities. But slowly the option was added to the camera, and slowly it took a little space on the film reel. As most of you guys here know, maybe you are from a filmmaking background or animation background, that India per se was having silent films till the 1930s, 1940s, in the 1950s also. And then slowly a separate track was added on the film, so that audio could simultaneously be recorded on the set. And it was also later printed on films, so that the theaters or exhibition places, wherever they had to play it back, uh, basically you did not have to record it on a tape or a CD to in order to play it. In a similar way, our smartphones also have evolved a lot over a period of time in terms of the video quality and audio quality. So we are currently living in the 8K generation, and uh, we can confidently say that we are living in an 8K generation, but we are still stuck at 4K when it comes to standardizing a lot of equipments, because the kind of footage which you shoot is okay up to your level, but how many devices you can project to is something still a matter of question. But again, I'm sure very soon, maybe in the next coming 4 years or the 5 years, 8K is going to be the norm. Just like how we have shifted from 1080p to 4K. It took hardly 10 years. I mean, considering the kind of adoption rate which the resolution is going through, we already have 4K streaming devices, 8K streaming devices, 8K recording devices. So within the next 5 years, uh, we will generally accept 8K as the pretty much standard workflow of it. Now, next, moving on to the history of smartphone filmmaking. History of smartphone filmmaking is again very recent in nature. When I say it's very recent, and I'm seriously referring it to be very recent, because first of all, the problem comes with the industry side of it, because there is an industry which already is existing. Maybe the Hollywood, maybe the Bollywood, or maybe the Tollywood or Collywood for that matter, India, abroad. I mean, every country has their own film industry, the studio system. So they are very much technology oriented when it comes to filmmaking process. They always want the best of it, and they create the demand in certain way that if you do not shoot a film in a certain format or a certain camera, then you might not be called as a filmmaker. But of course, when there is a revolution which is happening, things to change. Uh, there were radical filmmakers, there were experimental filmmakers, avant-garde filmmakers in different parts of the world who wanted to experiment with the possibilities of the technology. The Night Fishing by John Woo, a Korean guy who made this short film in 2011, which just created a ripple on how you can possibly make films. I mean, when the mainstream guys start adopting the independent guys' technology, the smartphone was supposed to be an independent guy's technology, an independent filmmaker's technology, because independent cinema is all to deal with the how less you can reduce the budget, or what how much you can save in the production cost. Trying to shoot with the available resources, trying to shoot with the available uh, cameras, equipments, and things like that. And in order to bridge the smartphone generation with the real generation, there was a generation which is still existing, which we cannot ignore. That is the DSLR filmmaking. Again, DSLR filmmaking is a very vast area. But again, I'm very sure majority of the students who are a filmmaking student here, or even if you are not a filmmaking student, at some point of your life, you must have seen someone holding a DSLR and then making a film and releasing it on YouTube or any other platform. So DSLR or again, there are handycams, which are very much tools which are very close to the independent filmmakers. And the reason behind it is as simple as that, because these equipments do not cost much. They're handy, they're easily available, they're cheap to buy comparatively to the cinema cameras which you can go and buy. They're cheap to buy. And here you can see a list of films, which includes the recent Malayalam film, The See You Soon, in 2020, which was released on Amazon Prime during the lockdown. So filmmakers have constantly been trying to break the structure for various reasons. So they might have personal intentions, or they might want to have a look at how it feels. And in most of the cases, when I did a content analysis of why the filmmaker has decided to use a smartphone, they all said that it's majorly because they were getting what they wanted. So what else do you need as a filmmaker when you imagine certain things, when you visualize certain things? And if you have an equipment which is cheaper, and at the same time it can convince your audience, or it can simply help you in terms of recording your vision as it is, then why go with the costly technology, or why go with the mainstream technology? So among all this, I would like to make a special note about Tangerine, where Tangerine was not exactly about saving money, or not exactly about cutting down the cost of the film, but it was more of a challenge which was taken by the filmmakers, that why can't we shoot a film with an iPhone? And what is the difficulty in shooting a film with an iPhone? Because it gives a pretty good image. So what is the difference in that? Let us try to make something different. And if you guys have watched Tangerine, Tangerine is not a normal movie. It's about the gays and the third genders. In fact, the use of the smartphone did give a different experience to the whole scenario. And again, a lot of third-party extensions were used in majority of the films which you see here. It's not just the smartphone, but you have certain extensions which you could use, just like how you use it for filmmaking cameras. You add the monitor, you add the light, then you add the microphone according to your choice, and anything which can simply enhance your working flow. So I would like to define extension as extension could be understood as anything which is added to already existing to extend the capability, scope, or repurposing it for a particular purpose more effectively. I can very well shoot the video with my hand, but what if there is an equipment which will help me in terms of balancing my camera, whereas I can dance on one side and at the same time I'm able to maintain my balance of smartphone, or whenever I am running somewhere and whenever I am recording a scene which involves a lot of running, I can't use uh, I can't use trolley and I can't use all those costly equipment when it comes to independent cinema. So there are a lot of extensions which you could use as part of the extensions. So one of them is gimbal, and I'm sure gimbal is a certain thing which is very common in today's generation. You see a lot of people using it. I also use a lot of gimbal, and I can just show you. I just usually use my if you can see, I use my iPhone or LG G7 to put it on the gimbal and then just simply start using. And I can just play anything, anyway. And I'm very sure, very confident that I am going to get the best stable image out there. And it's a beautiful equipment. And if you are a serious filmmaker, I would suggest you to get the gimbal. Again, not just the gimbal, there are a lot of equipments like you have the mini tripods, you have the uh, audio recording devices like if you can see the shotgun microphones, which I generally use to record my interviews on the smartphones. You can pretty much get these for a cheaper price, and trust me, they work really good. And they work really good, and they have a lot of compatibility, flexibility. You can attach it to your DSLR, you can attach it to your smartphone. It comes with TRR cable, it comes with TRSS cable, and you can just extend the possibility. It's not like the quality on the smartphone is bad, but you are simply trying to extend the quality of audio recording by recording it on an external device. Okay. Again, you have LED lights, you have ring lights, you have lenses. Again, uh, Tangerine was shot on anamorphic lens. And if you guys do not know what an anamorphic lens is, I'm sure majority of you have watched Hollywood films at some point of time. So an anamorphic lens is an extension lens which basically squeezes and de-squeezes the image. Skivig and there are a lot of other manufacturers who manufacture this anamorphic lens just to give a cinematic field of view to your footage. So it squeezes and de-squeezes an image in a certain way where you can record the maximum field of view. It does alter the original field of view, but this is the same field of view which we are very much used to watching films. So there are anamorphic lenses, and there are fisheye lenses, there are zoom lenses, and every lens could be added, I mean, according to the requirement you have, and then worked around, just like how you can change the lens in the DSLRs. Again, coming to the visual language in smartphone. When it comes to the visual language in smartphone, do you really think there is any difference in the visual language of a DSLR or visual language of a cinema camera and visual language of smartphone? Anyone who would like to answer the question?
No, sir, there is no difference.
Obviously, there is no difference because ultimately we are all trying to make a film, and as an audience, we are used to watching films in a certain way. Of course, different technology gives us different possibilities of creating more language to the already existing methods, techniques, and frameworks. It can add to a different experience uh, to a filmmaking process. Like you cannot simply take a red camera and just push it under a hole. But yes, you can very well slide a phone camera if you have this place too. Or you can use a tube camera to just put the camera inside the tube and then just have a look at the field of view. So a language is more than a collection of words, written or spoken. Based on region or ethnicity, in the broad sense, language is a system of terms, symbols, syntax used to generate and communicate meaning. Visual language allows us to record ideas in way that is more universal than spoken words. It's trying to give you a brief insight into what language is and how language and visual language could be uh, different slightly. And if we go back to the different elements of visual language, that is the camera shots, wide shot, medium shot, close-up shot, point of view shot. So these are the kind of shots which you can very well do with your smartphone itself. And when you consider the camera angles, they are low angle and high angle. You can pretty much do the low angle and the high angle also with the smartphones. And pretty much any camera movement, in fact with the gimbal you can play around with a lot of possible directions in terms of camera angle, whereas maybe you will not be comfortable in twisting your red camera or epic camera in such a direction, or you would need a very big equipment to perform a certain task or perform a certain things. And in recent times, because of the drone technology, which is basically dominating the airspace, you see any film making use of drone shots. So technology is actually giving new wings to the kind of visual language which we can develop. You see Ram Gopal Varma, for every single silly shot, he takes the drone through the window, through the bathroom, through the hall, and then tries to show the house and then simply vanishes in the sky. So that was something which you could never do before. And similarly, you couldn't do an extreme action sequence with a raw what's it, red dragon camera, but with the smartphones you are able to do it. You are able to pass the mobile phones through the smallest of the smallest opening in a space, and then you are able to record so many scenes which you would have ideally missed out or not at all considered or not at all thought about it. So there is not going to be, in terms of any difference, major difference in the already existing visual grammar, but it is like adding more to the already existing video grammar. So whatever we have, we are just taking an advanced level of it. So whatever we have discussed or whatever you must have learned as part of your filmmaking course is something which is base, something which is solid, something which is more fundamental in nature. Even though any technology changes, more or less the film is going to be understood in the similar way. But with the technology, it gives you more different possible ways of working out things. So definitely there will be an addition of visual grammar. There is an addition of visual language to it. And I think this is the decade when you can basically sit down and do a proper research and come out with a lot of possible ways in you can interpret visual language, and then and whoever does it will be called as the father of the visual grammar in the 21st century. There are very few people who are doing research on this aspect of it. Then technology advancement is enabling more professional output in smartphone cinematography. Of course, technology growth uh, is always in a particular direction, enhances a certain thing, whatever it's focusing on. It might have a bad impact on the other things which is not focusing on, but definitely whatever the direction in which it is focused on, there is an advancement in technology. Like to give a brief example, with the current technological advancement, the smartphones are so much capable that you do not require a candid photographer anymore. You can just click your own selfies, and those selfies are great enough, amazing enough. And if you are trying to complain that you cannot print that photographs, then we have ultra high resolution cameras fitted in our small smartphones that we could very well print it at 40 to 40 feet long also. So the advancement is actually affecting the industry personnel, the professionals who work with the professional equipment in a certain way. But I think the professionals also need to understand the difference between the professional equipment and the uh, I think they should also keep up with the technological advancement, understand the customers better so that they can serve the industry better. Then convergence of multiple media technologies. Okay, convergence of multiple media technologies is certainly happening from a very long time. Is certainly happening from a very long time. Just that we are very clueless on which direction the advancement is happening, and and what are the technologies which are combining together. But in today, as of today in the 2021, we can confidently say that it's the smartphone which is going to be the future, because so many media technologies have converged to form this one single equipment that you can very well get rid of your televisions, you can very well get rid of your smartphones, your DSLRs, your audio recorders, and your alarm. Or there are a lot of silly things and there are a lot of big things. If you are ready to compromise from that traditional setup, then you get everything at one single chocolate bar or a tablet for that sake. But specifically focusing to the smartphone filmmaking, we have seen that there are multiple what say applications, softwares which are developed for the pre-production, post-production, and production purposes. And to just give you a very brief idea, there is Celtex script developed by Celtex, and you can very well write your screenplays on your smartphones. There is an application called Writer Duo in which you can very well do your pre-production work. There are a lot of storyboarding softwares which you can use and just keep storyboarding or keep writing script and then fall asleep on the bed. So we are living in this kind of a generation. When it comes to production, there is one company which is trying to push very harder and trying to make a stand into the industry, and trying to motivate a lot of mobile producers to use their platform is Filmic Pro. It gives you the direct access to the camera sensor and records the maximum possible quality video. And a lot of people have said that the kind of video this application records is basically a non-processed image, which is directly getting the feed from the sensor and then just saving it in whatever format you are choosing to. It can be H.264 or H.265. There is something called green screener. These are all the applications which you can use. Green screener is one kind of application which you can use to check if your green screen is evenly lit or not, so that you do not have difficulty in doing a post-production. Of course, you can test it. If you are skilled enough, you will easily know which side is poorly lit and which side is not poorly lit. But it's always good to have the technology working for us. There are applications like Cinema 4K, again does a pretty similar job when compared to Filmic Pro. There's a light meter, and pretty much light meter is an application which you can use to calculate the amount of light which is reflected off the subject. Okay, so normally light meters are used in filmmaking process to just check how much of light is bouncing off the particular character's face, so that the cinematographer and the DOP can set the settings accordingly on the manual camera, the cinema camera, but they do give in a manual feed to it, so that they are having the controlled exposure. So without actually buying that equipment, you can very well use the proximity sensor, which is uh, a, uh, exactly present beside your selfie camera. And this application will use the data from there and basically predict the amount of light and give you the settings, like how much of ISO could be reduced, how much of shutter speed can be reduced, how much of uh, focal length it can be reduced. So it does pretty good calculation in terms of the current lighting setup or whatever lighting you are trying to put. Because if you are planning to record your own film and you want to have the maximum control over your footage, then you can very well use smartphones to judge, understand, and grow over a period of time. There are smartphone applications like iMovie for Apple. You have KineMaster, which is again a very commentable software, which could pretty much do your audio mixing. It can do your green screen replacement, and you can edit and export footages up to 4K, all in a single place. And you have many softwares like UCut, and I mean there are a number of softwares which I have not mentioned here. Just to make it very clear and simple, I've just mentioned only a few of them. So now in today's generation, without delaying much, you yourself can write down, produce, post produce, and then release your film from your smartphone. And that is what we are able to do today with the available technological options. This was near to impossible in our earlier days, around 20, 30 years ago. Whereas you have to write down, then you have to produce a different camera, you have to convert the footage to be used on an editing software, and then work on the editing workflow, then give an export, and then go ahead with this. But pretty much you can work on a full-length feature film uh, using the minimum equipments and the minimum labor work. To understand how much the future of smartphone could be pushed is, today we are having a resolution of 8K up to 30 frames per second. With the advancement of Snapdragon 866, the flagship Qualcomm chipset, you are able to record 8K at 30 frames per second. Around 6 months ago, the limit was 24, and now we are able to record at 30 frames per second. Again, resolution is impossible without a data rate to it. If you guys know that bigger resolution, more color data needs more data rate. So your hard drive, your storage should be equivalent and should be able to be in a situation that whenever the such kind of footage is encoded, it should write in real time. If the footage is not written on real time, then the camera application crashes. Today we have chipset which is EUFS storage 3.1, which could have the transfer rate of 1200 megabytes per second. And this is a massive improvement in the recent generation with the improvement of the storage technology. I'm very sure this technology is very soon going to be replaced by something else which will have 2000 megabytes per second. And then it will be more easy for the smartphone to run its operating system and do ultra high resolution video recording and process it and maybe live feed it at the same time. Then as of today, you can very well comfortably record 32-bit to 192 kilohertz audio. And if we have an understanding of how much audio we as a human can listen to, is just limited to around 20 to 20,000 hertz, 20 to 20 kilohertz. But this is way beyond the limit, and many of the filmmakers do record in higher sample rate and higher bit rate and then convert it convert the final one to the human hearing capacity, the close to the human one, the either 48 kilohertz or 96 kilohertz. But it's always good to have more dynamics in the audio recording channels. Again, 5G is going to make a big difference when it comes to smartphone filmmaking. And the reason is you would be able to live feed 4K raw data wherever you are, and you would be able to produce live films. You can have live transmission. Your footage would not require a third-party agent to transfer to different places. 5G is going to give you the flexibility of transferring the file directly to the vendor, directly to Cube Express, directly to UFO, directly to anyone whom you want to distribute your film, directly to Amazon, directly to Netflix. And it has always got to do with the technology. But again, as I said, there are advantages and disadvantages of technology. But if we are considered about shooting films through smartphones, I think we are going a long way, and it's going to be a future of smartphone filmmaking, where filmmaking will be feasible to even the normal audience. So the normal audience are not just going to be the audience anymore. They are also going to be the creators. And if you look at the artificial intelligence embedding into the editing software, you do not have to put much stress. You just have to click on the clips, randomly arrange, select on the emotions, and the output edit will be exactly following that moods, how it's coded. So that is briefly giving you insights into the smartphone filmmaking, from reel to the future of smartphone filmmaking. So I think I've taken enough time. Now I'll leave the session for question and answers.
I think everyone is very clear, sir, with your ideas and thoughts and whatever you have told with them. I think everyone is very clear.
Sir, how to?
Okay, who asked this question?
Sir, my name is Tarun.
Okay, hi Tarun. Okay, so what are you trying to understand here? Like, so you are asking about who is going to give you the iPhone or who is going to give you the smartphone?
No, sir. The person who is going to sponsor for the films.
It's very clear. When you're making films through your smartphone, why do you have to spend much funds? Pretty much a smartphone is part for
not in technological things, but as for the film, like we have to produce and screen or like poster, marketing department, something like that.
Okay, so if you are willing to go ahead with the traditional marketing, then of course you can go ahead. I think very soon the whole marketing thing also is going to be streamlined in a very mechanical way, where you will have one vendor and he'll do the job for you. I think such kind of players are already there.
Okay, sir.
So smartphone filmmaking is more to do with an independent kind of a filmmaking. It could also be used in professional studio setup, but for some reasons, the traditional studio owners, the producers, are against it. And the reason why they are against it, because there is going to be there are going to be a lot of new creators who are going to challenge them on the same platform. Like Tarun can make a film and then compete with Rajamouli tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Whereas Rajamouli is spending 200 crores, where Tarun is able to make a film in 1 crore. And even if Tarun is able to make 20 crores, Tarun is still making, let's say, 20 times profit. Whereas if Rajamouli makes 200 crores, he's still making 2x profit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have another question. what do you have to say about the new Xperia Pro, which is launched for professionals? That's a really interesting question. Uh, if you have watched MKBHD's video, which he has done a review, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, that smartphone is very much targeted towards the professional filmmakers, so that they can use the smartphone either to shoot their film, or just in case, even if they want to use the smartphone as a display device for their already existing camera. So it comes with a price of 1.9 lakhs. Yes. So that is for the extreme enthusiast, is what I would like to say. So when you can very much record the same quality, or maybe a little more uh, resolution than your Red or any other camera in a smartphone, why would you even go with the Red or any other camera? It's almost like you're trying to compete with a camera and then your bigger camera.
Sir, Red also launched a smartphone with that.
Red also launched a smartphone, and they have a really cute design on the back also. I've seen that phone, I've used it. But again, in some way they are, again, it's a marketing thing. They're all trying to sustain, and then they're all releasing their own smartphone. They're all trying to project their divisions into another section. They can very well do it, but something which Sony has been doing, like today, if you see, 80% of the smartphone market is using Sony IMX cameras. I'm very sure 90% of the people here who are using mobile phones, their smartphone module is a Sony camera. It can be a Huawei camera, it can be a Huawei phone, or it can be a Samsung phone, it can be Apple. Everyone is using Sony modules. So Sony has been pioneering this field for a very long time. I'm very sure the Red uh, smartphone is also using Sony camera. I'm not sure, I'm not confirmed it, but yes. So to completely come up with a new idea will take a lot of money and will take a lot of time also. We have 64 megapixel camera, which was introduced by Samsung. It's good. It's great. But again, every camera comes with its own flaws and faults. And the more, what we need to focus here is, now that we have the same camera on the OnePlus, same camera on the MI A3. OnePlus is something which is in the 40,000 range, and MI is something in the range of 10,000 to 15,000 range. What is the difference between, why is there so much of difference between the quality output of OnePlus and the quality output of MI, of any phone that matters, 9, 10, any phone that matters? So that is to do with the processing, right? You can very well avoid the processing if you are using the third-party applications like Filmic Pro, then Camera Cinema 4K. So these are the applications which actually breaks the software UI and then directly gets the data from the sensor and then gives you the packaged files. I still use MI A3. I've used Cinema 4K on this. I shoot on 4:3. Beautiful 4K DCI it comes. The only problem is the processor is it's not comparatively very powerful. So sometimes it gets stuck. So you can use any film for that matter. You can use any smartphone for that matter. It doesn't make a difference. Because in today's world, as long as you have the powerful processor, powerful data, if you have seen in the last slide. So these are the things which matter when it comes to development of a smartphone, or looking forward the future of smartphone. It's to deal with the resolution. I don't know how long this resolution game is going to continue, but it's going to continue. It's to deal with the data rate. The faster your chipset is, the more resolution you can obviously record, or the more raw data you can record. Audio, it's fantastic. My LG G7 records beautiful stereo audio. And the reason why I bought this phone recently, even after being a 3 years old phone, is a 3 years old phone. LG G7 is a 3 years old phone, but I got it 2 months ago, just because I wanted to see how it works. Just because I wanted to experiment with different smartphones. And network transmission 5G. So technology is definitely going to decide how your filmmaking is going to be. Because if 5G comes into the picture, you will have Ram Gopal Verma saying that I will telecast live film straight into your bedroom. And simultaneously, he'll be shooting at a different place and then he'll be telecasting it. He can do it today also at maybe a 1080p resolution.
But so some model, the S20 Pro supports in 8K 30 FPS
That's what.
recording. So
8K 30 FPS is possible today. It's possible today, and slowly it will improve to 60. And once it reaches 60, I think again the resolution will double, just like how it happened with 2K, 4K. It was 2K 24 frames. It became 30. Then it became 60. By the time you had 2K 60 frames, you had 4K 20 frames, 4K 30, 4K 60. And by the time you had 4K 60, you had 8K 16 frames. And around 1 year ago, again, it was not open on all the smartphones, because not all smartphones simply release the newest version or newest resolution without testing. But there are a lot of smartphone manufacturers who simply, to market their phones, they do release 8K or even 10K at a very low frame rates. So one of my student who got an Asus ROG phone, it was recording 8K at 16 frames. So that's the first time I experimented with how it exactly it's going to be. Does it going to make a difference? And it definitely did blow my mind. I mean, the kind of resolution, the kind of detailing it had, I never imagined that small piece of sensor is going to have that much of clarity. So I strongly believe that smartphone can pretty much do up to 12K. Again, you have manufacturers like MI 10 Pro, which have basically increased the sensor size. That is because of 108 megapixel. But yeah, so there are a lot of developments which are happening, if you see. And maybe as time goes, smartphone will not look the way it is looking today. Because I still remember that very old Nokia phone, button one, and then that's it. And then in a flash, we are just here, able to record so many things through our smartphone. I hardly remember, like, it was a continuous process. Year by year, for phones released, year by year, smartphone released. Sometimes 4 smartphone released in the same year. OnePlus Nord, OnePlus 8, OnePlus 8 Pro, OnePlus 8 Plus. So every phone has little improvements, and then yeah, I mean, the rate at which the improvement is happening is very dangerous. The problem with the DSLR technology being very slow and stagnant is the companies did not have players until Sony stepped in. Canon, Nikon did not have to upgrade their sensors, did not have to upgrade their processing until and unless Sony stepped in. It's only when Sony stepped in and starting to deliver the best resolution with the best ISO facility, you have multiple cameras released by Canon, and multiple cameras released by Nikon. Other players have given up. Fuji and Kodak and other companies have given up. They release classic cameras, which are more focused on the vintage look, but does the today's capacities. It has to do with a lot of technology, and every technology. In fact, there is a professor in Brunel University who is trying to understand how you can shoot films through CCTV cameras. And CCTV lenses has already been used in Malayalam cinema, attaching it to DSLRs. Films like Odu Divase Kali, Sexy Durga, and then Sanal Kumar sits there and makes films on them. That is a professor who is trying to do research on, how to use the CCTV cameras and then shoot films. How to shoot documentaries using CCTV cameras, and the whole placing of the cameras itself is changed. And there is a new narrative which is coming in. There is a new form which is coming in. I'm very sure if there was no smartphone, you would never have seen a film like See You Soon. The process of storytelling is changing. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities. And the number of people who are going and experimenting with those possibilities are very less, because everyone wants to make a big budget film. Everyone wants to make a studio film. Everyone wants to make a money. So only serious filmmakers who are very serious in telling their story, and if they feel that particular medium is the right medium for them, experimenting with it, then going ahead with it, it becomes a norm. Any more questions? Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. You guys can leave the meeting.
Thank you, sir.